This is a really late to the party review of Shadow Warrior 3. I played the first two. I played them both on Game Pass, as a matter of fact, and I adored them. I thought they were so hysterically funny, over-the-top action, and just nonsensical supernatural plot that it was hard not to root for the protagonist, Lo Wang. Yes, this game is full of potty humor and dick jokes and fart jokes and butt jokes and just nonsensical, like Beavis and Butthead-esque humor. But if you're into that sort of thing, and I'm a big idiot and I'm grinning as I'm talking to you guys about it right now, then I think you're going to enjoy it. But it basically follows the continuation of the first two games, which, by the way, you don't have to know anything about to appreciate the third game. But if you do have Game Pass, I think it is still on Game Pass. Even if it's not, I think these are worth the pickup. Basically, the game flow is as follows. You have guns, and you have a ninja sword. And your character goes around and slays wave after wave after wave of various types of enemies. And constantly is running his mouth with wisecracks and jokes and fatalities and that sort of thing. What this game, the third game in the series now, really brings to the table is a more Bulletstorm-esque cross-Doom package, where you have these environmental things that you can now interact with at length to kick enemies into spikes, or to knock them off of cliffs, or to shoot different parts of the world now that interact and kill other enemies in horrifically gory and oftentimes hysterical ways. The plot doesn't really matter so much. It always takes a backseat to the fact that you're basically this supernatural warrior who is going to go out and basically save the world time and time again. I'm playing from I think it's the second full level that what you're looking at here. This is pretty standard with my video reviews. I don't want to give too much away. I want you to experience the game for yourself, but you're going to see the general flow of this game very, very quickly. You're going to go into these large arenas full of enemies and traps, and you are going to pull out your sword or one of the many guns that you're going to get. You're going to slay enemies, and you're going to progress on. A lot of times, like right now, what you're seeing, and yes, I know it's not ultra-wide. That's the plight of an ultra-wide gamer, by the way, is you don't always get to see everything in ultra-wide. Is you're going to be treated to these goofy cutscenes. In this case, our hero, Lo Wang, jumps basically face first into this dead dude's crotch, because why not? And unlocks the grappling hook, which is one of the many ways you can now traverse around the level. The grappling hook is a really cool weapon because obviously it lets you just swing around and, you know, break into things that you probably wouldn't have been able to do before. Additionally, it allows you to pull into enemies to continue your combos. Now, as far as the combat is concerned, every time you kill an enemy with your melee attack, which is your giant katana sword, they will drop ammunition. And every time you kill an enemy with ammunition, they will drop health. So the game has this constant flow to it of using your really cool machine gun or shotgun or other weapons that I don't want to spoil for you yet, and switching between those and your sword to get ammo. And it's this constant ebb and flow between the two combat systems that typically works well. The reason I am saying typically is because you just saw me eat a big pile of shit. And you're going to see that happen quite a bit in this game because unfortunately, despite the fact that this game has now been out since March and has undergone a significant amount of patching, it still has some serious jank to it. And there are times that you will get stuck on terrain. There are times you will fall through the world map. There are times that your enemy won't grab onto a wall to perform a wall run, that sort of thing. And you see that happen time and time again. And that is frustrating because I feel like this game really lives and dies on its combat fluidity, which I still maintain is a lot of fun. I really did enjoy going into these large-scale arenas and mowing down hordes of enemies using the weapons and the skills at my disposal. There's also an upgrade system, there's also a telepathic push, and some other things you will unlock as well, which will continue to give you an increased arsenal of weapons and ways in which to kill enemies, which I like. But I never felt like the combat was hard. If anything, I felt like I was always battling against the control sequence. And you'll see often that my weapon wheel pops up. The reason why my weapon wheel is popping up is because I'm supposed to hit LB and RB to perform a finisher, which I'll talk about those in a moment. But sometimes, I guess the game doesn't recognize that I'm hitting them both simultaneously, and instead it pulls up my weapon wheel, which is the left button, which is why a lot of times you see that happen. Or, just like a second ago, you'll see me repel into an enemy, and I'm trying to kill them and swing my sword and to shoot my gun, and the game basically launches me past the enemy, or it tethers me to a piece of terrain that is not where I thought I was going to go. And as a result, the combat does suffer because you can't pull off these awesome, amazing moves in your head the way that the game designed you to play through them. And that is very, very frustrating. It doesn't mean it's unplayable. It doesn't mean I don't recommend this game, because I do, especially for the $3.50 that I got it on Fanatical Gaming last night, or 2 nights ago. But I'll say that, you know, it's short, it's sweet, it doesn't overstay its welcome, but it does have some nonsense to it. And I think that's why people maybe frown on this game a little bit, and maybe why the reviews aren't as great as they probably should have been, sitting at a high 6, low 7 in Metacritic, because it's just an okay game. Now, if you're like me and you're an idiot and you appreciate all the nonsensical wisecracks and jokes that Lo Wang will make throughout the story, you may find a little bit more value in it. I know I did for that reason alone. It did give me those Bulletstorm vibes, which really did make the game a lot of fun. The last thing I'll mention, and another reason why I feel like this game sometimes has budget written over the top of it, is that a lot of the really cool things that happen in the game are very repetitive. You've been watching this video for about, what, 8 minutes now? How many times have you seen me do the same finisher on that guy, where I basically rip his head out of his body and then I crush his head? Or the other finisher where I rip the dude's like brain out of his body and I throw it as like a cold attack. The reason why that's so boring is because that's the only like fatality for that enemy type. They didn't randomize it. If you think back to the way Doom worked with the glory kill system, and how you could focus on different parts of the enemy's bodies, their arms, their legs, their head, their chest, etc. You would get different finishers, and sometimes, if it was an environmental thing, you may get an environmental finisher. Well, here, unfortunately, each enemy type has exactly one finisher. So after you've seen it for the very first time, when you perform a finisher on said enemy, you will see it again until the end of time. There is no alternate finisher. There's no finisher for like aiming at their feet or their heads or doing other things. So it gets insanely repetitive. Now, the finishers are a great way to kind of catch your breath. It is definitely advantageous, as a lot of enemies do something or give you something which turns the tide of battle, like throwing their brain, which is like a big area of ice that freezes all the enemies, which is really cool. It's beneficial in combat, so it's things you're going to want to do. There's some large enemies you'll see me interacting here with in a moment, that when you perform a finisher on them, you get to borrow their hammer weapon for a small amount of time, which does insanely much more damage than your sword or your gun. So you're going to want to do your finisher on particular enemies instead of just kind of chipping away at them with the standard sword or machine gun that you may be used to, which, okay, I like that, but after the 10th, 11th, 12th, 15th, 100th time of seeing the exact same animation, because you will be facing these enemies quite bit, you're going to start to feel kind of like, oh, I can start to understand why this game is more of like a budget game and why this game definitely lacks the polish of some other games like the first Doom, for example, the 2016 Doom, or even Doom Eternal, because at least there was some variety to that. You're not going to get that here, but you will be drip fed enough of new weapon and enemy types. I think that should make the combat satisfying enough. I beat the game in about 5 hours, I want to say. I enjoyed it for what it was. I like Lo Wang. Like I said, he's just a funny character to me, and it's just kind of one of these nonsensical, like, you have a long day off or like a long weekend type thing of game to blow through. But if you're looking for something fun, any of the 3 games in the series, including this one, definitely feature a lot of nonsensical dialogue and a lot of fun, and I think you'll have a good time with it, even if you're not an idiot like me and don't realize until the 4th death that you're actually supposed to shoot this thing instead of grapple onto it to proceed. There's a lot of that in this game of just dying, and a lot of it is jank, but a lot of it also is some, you know, confusing design, I'll say that. So do I recommend this game? Wholeheartedly, absolutely, yes. Do not pay full price for it. You can find it on sale. Like I said, I got it for like $3. I don't think it'll always be that price, but this is a good like $10 game. This is a fun Black Friday game, and as I mentioned, the older ones were on Game Pass. I don't know if they still are, but if they still are, definitely still hold up incredibly well. If you want to know the whole lineage of Lo Wang and his journey and all of the nonsense he's gone through to get him to this point, definitely go back and play the first 2. But understand that obviously this game is the most technologically advanced and refined and polished. So if you're struggling with looking at what I'm showing you here today, you may not want to go back and play the old ones. That'll wrap up today's review on Shadow Warrior 3. I think it's great. Lo Wang needs your help. He's funny. I guarantee you'll have at least one laugh out loud moment at some point in the dialogue just because it's so nonsensical. But that's my thoughts. I want to hear from you guys in the comments below. While you're down there, please consider subscribing to the channel. I do appreciate it. Thank you all so much. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.